to the video, and today I'm going to be discussing applying pressure. And this is applying pressure as far as it comes to mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And what do I mean by applying pressure? Well, I mean by applying pressure is adding a energy or pressure and applying that to that said state of being, and or using that state of being to apply some sort of pressure when it comes to an action, person, place, or thing that you're dealing with, whatever that may be, in order to get a beneficial result or resolve out of said situation. So when you think about mentally applying pressure, you want to use your mental state of being in order to apply pressure in that way of adding a stimulus to always be growing when it comes to your mental state of being. Adding a state of pressure, applying pressure when it comes to mentally, as far as using your mind state on a continuously applying pressure when it comes to using your mind state consistently, using your mind state to constantly do things, therefore you're constantly applying that pressure. And what can that pressure do? Well, applying that pressure as far as it comes to mentally, you can continuously grow and continuously develop new thought forms, continuously grow, continuously develop new thought patterns, new structured ways of thinking, and new ways of, let's say, comprehending things when it comes to mentally, new things of communicating things when it comes to mentally. Applying pressure can lead you to spaces when it comes to mentally, as far as becoming more advanced when it comes to mentally, becoming more intellectual when it comes to mentally, becoming more wise, more knowledgeable when it comes to mentally. Constantly mentally applying that pressure will have your mental state of being in a constant space and state of growth, a constant state and space of expanding, a constant space and state of creating more strength when it comes to mentally, more stability when it comes to mentally, more resistance and more, let's say, pressure towards any failed mentalities, any mental stress that you're going to have to ever deal with. Applying that pressure when it comes to mentally is going to strengthen your mental state of being at whatever you're going through. So, for example, me sitting here breaking down the concept of applying pressure and teaching how one can apply pressure as far as it comes to mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Just that action in itself and applying that pressure, putting in that work, that pressure that we're applying when it comes to mentally is helping me to expand mentally. It's helping me to, in the situation that I'm in physically, having a mental perspective over what's going on in the situation, said scenario that I'm in when it comes to, let's say, my emotional state of being able to have a mental perspective of what's going on, because I'm continuously applying that pressure. I'm not letting my mental state of being be weak. I'm not letting my mental state of being take a backseat. I'm not letting my mental state of being just rest. I'm using my mental state of being to constantly apply pressure. Therefore, I can have a perspective of what's going on when it comes to emotionally, what I'm experiencing. When it comes to spiritually, what I'm experiencing, what spiritual travels I'm on right now, what spiritual purpose and mission that I'm on right now, I can have a mental perspective as I'm constantly applying pressure when it comes to mentally. I'm not having a insufficient mental perspective as far as what I'm experiencing and what I'm going through when it comes to spiritually. So I can have that mental perspective, that strong mental perspective of what I'm going through, what I'm dealing with, what I need to work on in the present to near future, what I need to do as far as grasping when it comes to mentally, what do I need to do in order to help my mind, help my mental state of being to continue to grow, what do I need to think about, how can I comprehend, how I can best use my physical state of being, what spaces I can put myself in, and how can I use that mental state of being, that perspective that I have mentally from just applying the pressure towards working towards finding out this information. How can I best act when it comes to my actions and interacting with the physical world? When it comes to, let's say, emotionally, how can I best be emotionally stable? How can I best be in a state of emotional clairvoyance. Well, applying that mental perspective, it's going to have me mentally strong enough, and applying that mental pressure constantly is going to help me to be able to grasp, hey, how emotionally can I stay most balanced? How emotionally can I use my emotional state of being to most benefit my state of well-being and the benefit of my well-being? And when it comes to spiritually, how can I best put in that work? How can I best grow my spiritual perspective? How can I best grow my spiritual nature, my spiritual systems? And through applying pressure when it comes to mentally, I'm going to constantly be adapting, constantly be expanding, just by constantly applying that pressure when it comes to mentally. I'm going to do this on a constant basis, even when I feel that resistance, even when I feel, resistance when it comes to mentally, resistance when it comes to physically, resistance emotionally, resistance spiritually. I'm going to consistently apply that pressure when it comes to mentally, and that's something that I'm going to constantly do, and that's what applying pressure is about. It's about going forward no matter what is in your way and getting through that obstacle, getting through that challenge, whatever it may be that you're working towards. When it comes to physically applying pressure could be, for example, I am physically putting in work that is adding a stimuli to my physical state of being growing, my physical state of being becoming stronger. As you can see, that's my bike right over there that I rode in order to get to this location that I'm in physically. So that physical work that I put in, that pressure that I had to do, I'm moving my legs right now, but you can't see, presenting like I'm biking. But guess what? That pressure, applying that pressure to the pedals, moving myself forward, is not only just an operation or operative action, but it also is a speculative nature, whereas I can use that as a way of, I'm constantly applying pressure, not just what you can see as physically moving, operational, but speculatively, that physical action is helping me in order to improve my mind, in order to continuously expand mentally. Not only just that, but in order to constantly expand when it comes to emotionally, bringing my emotional state of being to a state of wholeness or a state of peace, whatever it may be that you want to call it. Bringing my physical state of being into a space where I'm moving, I'm getting my heart rate going, and I'm causing a stimulation for my legs, my heart to pump the blood, my mind, everything to be benefited. And then not only that, but my spiritual state of being is also realizing that I'm doing something that is right for the path that I'm on. I'm getting towards a location that I need to be through applying this pressure, through traveling, through resistance, through whatever that may be, in order to grasp, in order to create and expand upon, let's say, spirituality or spiritual perspective or spiritual system that I'm developing. And that just goes to show I got myself to the space that I'm in right now, where I am fulfilling my spiritual path. I am putting in that spiritual work, that mental, physical, emotional work to continuously grow and to continuously expand, and in this case, continuously teach and put out consciousness about, let's say, this topic of this video, applying that pressure. Another state of applying that pressure could be physically, like something that I've been doing with my partner has also been doing it, is going into the pool, and that's because the pool right now is extremely cold, and I've found that it's a lot easier to just jump in right away rather than to ease yourself in and try to get used to it all at once, because some of your body is in the water while some of it is out of the water, so you're automatically going to feel that difference between you're warm here, you're cold where you are in the water. So I realized that if you just jump in right away, your body gets used to the water like that, and it's that much easier to apply that pressure. And once you get into that water, what you're doing is controlling your breathing, controlling your thoughts, controlling your emotions, controlling the space that you're in, being spiritually in wholeness or spiritually at peace, whatever you want to call it, and you are applying that pressure. And a lot of times what that cold can help you with, it can help you recover your muscles. It can help to, what it does is it raises your cortisol, which is like a stress hormone, but So it's not something that you should always do, like every second of the day, but to do it, ever so often, whenever you think that you need to refresh, you need to chill out, you need to jump in some cold water. That's what I've been doing, and that's been helping a lot in order to, and I realize that it does, after your cortisol levels are raised and everything, you get out of that water and you start to warm up and whatnot. I've realized that there's a sense of mental clarity, there's a sense of physical clarity, mental, emotional clarity, and spiritual clarity that is gained through that action. So that's another example of how you can apply pressure. Another example to how you can apply pressure is working towards your goals, working towards success, putting in the physical work that you need to put in to achieve your goals, putting in that physical work that you need to reach success, putting in that physical work that you need to put in order to get done what you need to get done. So continuously putting work in towards that is continuously applying pressure in that sector. And what also is applying pressure when it comes to physically is continuously doing what you need to do in order to reach those states, in order to reach those spaces, continuously applying pressure in dealing with people, relationships, whatever that may be, dealing with things, how you interact with the physical world, constantly applying that pressure there, how you deal with places, taking yourself from physical space to another physical space in order to constantly apply that pressure, constantly add the stimulation for growth, and constantly add the stimulation for expanding. And when it comes to applying pressure physically, you can always know when you're applying pressure because physically a lot of times you can tell when you're going through resistance. You can tell, oh, I'm super tired right now, or all I want to do right now is rest, or whatever that may be. But I'm telling you now, if you just get what you need to get to that physical state or space of being that you need to be in, or place when it comes to externally, then you can now put in that pressure. Now you can consistently apply that pressure regardless of what it is. Don't just rest and say, I'm not going to apply any pressures today, but what I am going to do is do whatever I need in order to get to that physical state of being, and through those actions, I'm going to be applying pressure. Through the actions of working towards those goals, working towards success, I'm going to be applying pressure when it comes to physically. So I hope you guys enjoyed that view of that tree. I was just using my little tripod, it's really my water bottle that I'm using to prop up my camera, and just having a little bit of sip of water in order to finish out this video. I just reached the halfway point. If you are still here, thank you for the support. It takes a lot for one to support another, and one must support their self in order to support others. If you can't support yourself, then you can't necessarily support me, or you can't necessarily support other people. Therefore, it always starts with the self and goes from there on. And when it comes to emotionally applying pressure, let's talk about emotionally and applying pressure when it comes to the emotional state of being. Regardless of what's going on, let's say you are feeling a certain way where you're emotionally detached, or you have a prolonged period or any amount of time where you're, let's say, emotionally detached. How can you continuously apply pressure? Well, you can be emotionally detached and constantly apply pressure mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. What you can do is realize that, hey, you're dealing with this sort of emotional state of being, you're dealing with this sort of resistance, whatever that may be, and that's all right. If you need to detach from things for a while and not give certain emotional reactions or emotional responses and be in a certain emotional state of being with certain emotional energetic vibration and frequency, then that's so be it, then so be it. So be in that space and go ahead and do that and deal with that resistance by applying pressure emotionally, by sticking to your guns, sticking to, if that may be attached to something emotionally or detached from something emotionally. But if you are realizing, like, hey, you know what, I'm in a space right now where am dealing with other people, dealing with other things and places where I can't necessarily be there right now, and I've got to focus on other things as far as it comes to mentally. I got to focus on other things as far as it comes to physically. I got to focus on other things as far as it comes to spiritually. And then you realize that, okay, you're emotionally detached. Maybe you're not emotionally available. You can continuously apply pressure while supporting those people, while supporting those places, while supporting those things with being detached emotionally. You can consistently apply pressure when it comes to whatever you're dealing with. For example, you can, if you're emotionally detached, you can continuously apply that pressure and apply that, let's say, give that support, fighting that resistance that you're dealing with by applying pressure, by giving a sign when it comes to mentally, giving these people something to think about that reminds them of, okay, pressure is still being applied, I'm still being supported, the love, the feeling is still there. When it comes to showing a sign as far as it comes to physically, showing a sign that a pressure is still being applied. For example, they know that the support is still there. They know that the emotions are still there. The love is still there. And when it comes to emotionally, giving a sign by affecting or in a positive way that may be, that person, that places, that things, emotional state of being. Therefore, they know pressure is still being applied. Don't need to think that nothing's going on or that it's the end all be all, but pressure is still being applied. And this could be, let's say, showing a sign when it comes to spiritually. That could be connecting with anything, let's say mentally, in the physical world, in the spiritual realm, the dream world, whatever that may be that you are showing a sign of. Show a sign spiritually that work is still being put in. Show a sign spiritually that pressure is still being applied. Show a sign that the support is still there, the emotion, the love is still there, regardless of what's going on, regardless of how much resistance is going through right now, how much pressure is being applied, and that may be reverse pressure, therefore it's resistance. How much pressure is being applied in root of that, or in benefit of that. So constantly, regardless of emotionally, ups and downs, left and right, whatever that you're feeling when it comes to your emotional state of being, constantly applying that pressure is doing mentally being strong, no matter what. Applying that pressure mentally, regardless of how you feel. Applying that pressure physically, regardless of how you feel. Applying that pressure emotionally, regardless of how you feel. Being emotionally stable, being that emotional rock for yourself and or others and or persons, places, or things, in order to constantly apply that pressure. Constantly applying that pressure when it comes to spiritually. Constantly putting in that work to grow spiritually. Constantly putting in that work to maintain and be on your path when it comes to spiritually, and maintain and be on your path when it comes to spiritually. Regardless of what you're dealing with emotionally, regardless of what emotions you're going through, regardless of what that may be, it's about constantly applying that pressure regardless. And when it comes to spiritually applying pressure spiritually is, what I know is, and from what I've experienced is, regardless of what you deal with when it comes to physically, regardless of what you see happening when it comes to physically, what you see around you, what you are experiencing when it comes to physically, knowing that, hey, my spiritual strength is always with me, my spiritual power is always with me, because I'm always going to be a strong spirit. And as long as you know this, then you can constantly apply pressure when it comes to spiritually. You can constantly, regardless of what you're thinking, regardless of if you're having mental stress, regardless of if you're having mental blockages, mental issues, problems, obstacles, whatever that challenge is, whatever that may be, knowing that, hey, I'm a strong spirit at the end of the day. I always have my spiritual strength with me. I always have my spiritual faith in myself and my spiritual faith on my mission and the path that I'm on in life, regardless of what I have to deal with when it comes to mentally. Therefore, spiritually applying that pressure, and both physically and mentally, is going to help strengthen those states of beings, because you're constantly applying that pressure when it comes to spiritually. You're constantly applying that pressure spiritually, therefore enhancing, therefore benefiting your mental and physical state of being. Regardless of I don't feel good, or I feel this certain way about what I want, I feel like giving up, whatever that may be that you're experiencing when it comes to emotionally, constantly knowing and realizing, hey, I'm a strong spirit, I have that spiritual strength, that spiritual power, and I'm going to maintain being a strong spirit through whatever I'm dealing with when it comes to emotionally, is forms of continuously applying that pressure, continuously knowing that you're constantly growing when it comes to spiritually, you're constantly expanding when it comes to the spiritual world, you're constantly developing new wisdom when it comes to spiritually, you're constantly, through applying this pressure, developing more knowledge when it comes to spiritually, you're constantly, when it comes to spiritually applying pressure, that is now going to help manifest the physical state of being that you're in, or help manifest whatever it is you're working towards, success, goals, whatever that may be that you're working towards in the physical world. Knowing that that physical or that spiritual pressure is being applied can help you to manifest that when it comes to physically. Knowing that whatever space you're trying to reach, whatever mind state you're trying to reach, whatever mind comprehension skills, communication skills, breaking down skills when it comes to breaking down topics, breaking down whatever that may be when it comes to mentally, knowing that you're putting in that spiritual pressure, therefore it can help assist you to mentally improve that. Being spiritually constantly applying that pressure when it comes to how it can help and enhance your emotional state of being, help to get you to a space where you're emotionally grounded, or you're emotionally not grounded necessarily. You can be in any space when it comes to emotionally, whatever you like to be, wherever you find that emotional balance, knowing that spiritually you're putting in that work is going to help you to reach those spaces when it comes to emotion. So that was just a video on applying pressure, and I want to continuously keep applying pressure mentally. I'm going to continuously, not that I want to, but and it's not only if you want to or not. Sometimes you're going to have to do things, and a lot of times actually you're going to have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. So you're going to have to continuously apply that pressure mentally. Regardless of if you want to or not, you're going to have to apply that pressure when it comes to physically. Regardless of if you want to or not, you will have to apply that pressure when it comes to emotionally. Regardless of if you want to or not, you're going to have to apply that pressure when it comes to spiritually. At the end of the day, there's things that have to be done, there's sacrifices that have to be made in order for us to reach that spaces, those right spaces that are right for us when it comes to mentally, those spaces that are right for us when it comes to emotionally, those spaces that are right for us when it comes to spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally. Keep on pushing, keep on applying pressure in those states of being, and in the life that you're in, continuously apply that pressure, regardless of what you're dealing with, regardless of any challenge when it comes to mentally, regardless of any physical challenge, regardless of anything that gets in your way mentally, anything that gets in your way physically, regardless of any emotional challenge, anything that gets in your way when it comes to emotionally, regardless of any challenge or obstacle that you're dealing with when it comes to spiritually, any journey that you're on when it comes to spiritually, any resistance that you experience when it comes to spiritually, continuously apply that pressure.